upcoming Saturday, October 4th at the Shoreline Amphitheater, Above and Beyond wraps up their Bigger Than All of Us album tour, and we sit down with Uber Above and Beyond and Anjunafam Eric Medeiros to discuss.
And it got a little bit rough, but we held on and kept our own and stayed safe. Pretty intoxicated, messed up people who pushed their way through into the front. Shoreline will not have a pit because there is no pit. It's all just assigned seating in the front. You got to be careful because a lot of the street parking has restrictions around there. This is a 20,000 person venue. So getting in and getting out is very difficult.
Anjuna fans across the country will recognize Eric, who always rides the rail with the fam, and who we have had the privilege to be at a number of shows with Eric, big or small. It's not just Anjuna events. I'm watching a Giants game last year, and I recognize, hey, there's Eric. So I text him. He responds to the text, and he gives us the old heart. It's hilarious, and then he blows his kisses. So I'm texting him while he's watching the Giants game. Eric not only knows just about everything there is about Above and Beyond, but Eric is also quite familiar with the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View. We will also discuss the tour itself, as Eric has been to 3 events across the country. And look, Eric finally got booked to provide support for Above and Beyond, and even got his own side stage. We are NorCal EDM News, a startup YouTube channel where we talk about upcoming events, recap events, and are dedicated to giving our local DJs, promoters, and venues a voice in the Bay Area and Sacramento region. Be sure to check out our Behind the Deck series as well. Thank you for being here.
Because it's bigger than you, it's bigger than me, it's bigger than all of us.
We are recorded. We are here with the infamous Eric Medeiros of A&B Fandom. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
And we see Eric. Okay, I do have a picture of him sleeping, and I know he likes to sleep. Some people have seen that. And now we see him in his work environment at his school, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm a high school counselor, and this is my office where I work.
And just before back to school night, we're going to talk about the upcoming Above and Beyond show at the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, October 4th. It's recording today, September 4th, so we're a month away. Eric, talk about your work at you volunteer there, and how many times you've been to the Shoreline Amphitheater over a career.
Yeah, absolutely. I first went to the Shoreline Amphitheater when I was younger, maybe like 13, 14 years old. Live 105 used to do these big alternative rock concerts there. They would do all day out on the street or in the parking lot, and then they would do a big show kind of as the sun went down in the amphitheater. So I started going there from a pretty young age. And then I actually got really into Dave Matthews Band as another love of mine. And they perform there a lot. And so I've been there quite a bit to see Dave Matthews Band. I've seen Dead and Company there. I've seen a lot of big groups. And I've also volunteered there for fundraisers, usually with Dave Matthews Band. They do a lot of green touring initiatives. So I'll go and work a little bit before the show, fundraise some money, and then I get to see the show for free after. It's pretty cool.
We're talking to the perfect person that has volunteered, worked there, and attended there since a young age to know about the landscape of the Shoreline Amphitheater. I've only been there once. It was many years ago. I want to say 2007. I saw Journey and Def Leppard back to back.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I don't remember too much about it. But ahead of the show on the 4th, you've been traveling the country and seeing Above and Beyond and their Bigger Than Us tour. How's that gone? Talk a little bit, Eric, about the venue and then the vibe and how it's gone for you.
Yeah, so I'm trying to go to 13 shows this season, if you will, for the Above and Beyond album tour. And I've gone to 3 shows so far. The first was in Vancouver, a big field setting. The second one was just outside of Portland in an amphitheater setting, almost exactly like Shoreline Amphitheater. And the third one was this past Sunday in DC in a club setting. The first show was a little bit wild in terms
Vancouver,
of
Canada, right?
Yeah. It was all GA. And so people kind of came and went as they wanted to. So I'm usually in the front. The front got a little bit intense because when it is all GA, kind of everybody has access. And so a lot of people were rushing the front. And it got a little bit rough, but we held on and kept our own and stayed safe. The sound setup. Say that again?
The rain real quick. And then
it also rained. I love when it rains in an A&B show. I think it really adds to the magic of the experience. But there were some pretty intoxicated, messed up people who pushed their way through into the front, and that can happen from time to time. But a lot of the amphitheaters have separate pit that you have to purchase, and so that kind of cuts down from the maybe unwanted individuals who push their way through a little bit. So that's helpful. And a lot of amphitheaters have that. Shoreline will not have a pit because there is no pit. It's all just assigned seating in the front. That'll be my first time doing that. I've not been in a venue that has assigned seating at the front.
And you talked
Vancouver
about the sound up in Vancouver?
The sound setup was not ideal. They had all the speakers kind of clumped together. And so it was either quiet if you weren't near the speakers or too loud at the speakers. But all was made right when Above and Beyond played a surprise club set at the official after party that night. It was not announced that Above and Beyond was going to play, but they did. They played for 90 minutes. It was incredible. And it seems like there's going to be more official after parties where Above and Beyond will play. San Diego was just announced either today or yesterday. There is going to be an official after party, and Above and Beyond is billed on the after party officially. So highly recommend seeing that in San Diego if you get a chance.
And if I recall, the after party in Vancouver, you were telling me that the prices were higher than normal, and it was a surprise, right?
Yeah, the after party was almost $100. Everybody was very confused as to why it was $100, but they surprised us. So that's probably why it was $100.
All was made right as well as the Anjunafam. Lewis got to finally press the button in Vancouver, Washington. We're happy for you, Lewis.
And then after that was Portland the very next day, like 20-30 minutes outside of Portland. Really beautiful, I think newer venue that looks exactly like Shoreline, except it had a pit in the front too. And that was a very special show. The energy was excellent. They're playing a lot of new songs, of course, not only from their album, but there's a couple new remixes already. And they're kind of sprinkling in some of their other music, as well as some Anjuna new releases too, that are really fun and exciting. So that was really great. And then the third show I went to so far was in DC this past Sunday, which was a 360 in the round club set. I gotta be honest, probably a top 5 show for me. It was really, really amazing, really special being around them. And they weren't on like this huge, they weren't on like a huge tower like I've seen at 360 shows. They were just on a little platform and we were just around them. You could actually lean over and give them a high five if they leaned over too. Like that's how close you can get. And like I said, it was very, very special. The energy of just having us all together. Pavo wrote something like, "Welcome to our living room." So it definitely felt like we were just all hanging out together dancing.
Very intimate then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to say that the Bigger Than All of Us tour album, every time I hear it, it gets better and better. It's magical. I mean, so with all 3 events that you've been to, have they changed? I'm sure, obviously, the sets have changed up, but I mean, they have a heavy dose of the new album, I have to imagine.
Yes, absolutely. It is an album tour, so you can expect a lot of the new album songs and a couple of remixes already from some of those songs so far.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. So let's talk about October 4th at the Shoreline Amphitheater.
Yeah.
Now, Patty and I, when we first heard it, we reserved the hotel. It's a funky boutique hotel. It's walking distance. I can't think of the name of it. I'll throw it in the B-roll, but it's walking distance. And the first thing, the most complaint is the parking and getting in and out.
Gridlock, some South Bay commuters know all too well. It happens every time there's a weeknight concert at Shoreline Amphitheater. KPI X5's Kit Doe live in Mountain View with a new plan to solve some of those headaches anyway. Kit?
And spoiler alert, the pilot program didn't work. Now, this was from 9 years ago, and they are talking about weeknight events at the Shoreline Amphitheater. But traffic is a mess nonetheless. That's why we got the hotel. And from what I'm reading, the consensus is if you get the preferred parking, you're fine. But let's talk about the parking and your suggestion. People talked about parking at the sports page or the Costco and walking in. Is that pretty much true? I mean, and getting out there's got to be impossible, I'm guessing.
Yeah, unfortunately I cannot speak about parking in business lots. I've never done it. I don't know if you can get in trouble for doing that. I have gone to Shoreline and parked on the street. Like I got there way early, hours and hours early one time, and found a street spot, and then just walked in and out. I was pretty successful with that, but you got to be careful because a lot of the street parking has restrictions around there. So just make sure you're reading all the signs if you are looking for street parking.
I've read, and I know you as someone who works at the amphitheater can't suggest that, but people have said, I'm a season ticket holder and we've parked and we've never been hassled, whether it's the Costco, the sports page, or the movie theater. So take that for what it's worth. So yeah.
The regular parking lot is just a giant field in the back. This is a 20,000 person venue. So getting in and getting out is very difficult. Getting in, if you're early, it's easy. But if you're close to showtime, it'll be really difficult. And then if you stay till the end of the show, it'll be very difficult to get out. It takes a very long time. They do have multiple exits that they usually guide cars to now. So it's a little bit more efficient than some of the other amphitheaters, but definitely expect a long wait. And then there is preferred or like easy entry exit or something that you can pay for. That'll definitely help. There is ADA handicap parking that's more close to the venue itself. But once they run out of spots, they run out of spots. So definitely don't count on it unless you're there early. And then Uber and Lyft is kind of a mess too. So when I've gone there, I've gone early enough to get in there really quick. And then you can kind of get a spot toward maybe the front of the giant field. And then that can help maybe get out a little bit quicker.
Okay.
But it's still, you can either leave just before the show ends and get out fast, or you can stay until the show ends and then, wait a while, hang out by your car, talk with friends, because they're not gonna, if there's still a huge line of cars leaving, they're not gonna yell at you, get in your car and drive away. You can still hang out by your car as things settle down and then leave if you want to. I'm going to try actually getting a Waymo for the first time with my group because we're staying at a hotel that is nearby and also within the Waymo zone. And then where kind of Shoreline is, or there's some streets nearby, is also in the Waymo zone. So I'm going to see how that goes.
More savvy people who use Rideshare. I mean, I'm sure there's a Rideshare drop off and pick up standard spot, but you know that you need to at least walk a couple of blocks to get your Rideshare to leave. Would you suggest? Right.
Yeah. Usually when I do big venues like this, if I'm getting a pickup, I usually plan to walk up to a mile outside of the venue until I call for a ride, just because there's so much of a crunch. Right. And you can walk straight out of the venue down the street and go a ways, no problem. But there's going to be a lot of roads closed and lanes closed, and there is a dedicated area, but it just might be a very long wait. So just be ready for that, a little bit of chaos.
Now, there is a dedicated drop-off and pickup area, including taxis, limousines, Uber, Rideshare. They're only allowed in the marked designated area Amphitheater Parkway directly across the pedestrian path into the venue. Please listen to the traffic personnel. They are there to help expedite the process. Now looking on Google Maps there's the amphitheater itself. And this is Shoreline. And this is Amphitheater Parkway. So they say across the street. That must be the pedestrian path they're talking about. Put the little yellow man pokey. There's the path. There's the street. I'm guessing somewhere across the street there. Honestly, I don't know.
Or just walk all the way. You can walk all the way down to the movie theater, because there is a Cinemark chain movie theater way down by the freeway entrance and exit. So you could technically, it's like maybe a 20-minute or so walk, maybe a little bit more, and then you can get a ride there if you feel like you're able to do that.
Yeah, if I'm checking my notes, people have talked about parking at the movie theater like you just spoke of, or the sports page, or near the Costco. And in the neighborhood, I know it's not a lot of residential. I don't know, maybe there is. But if people are choosing to park, and what we started this conversation off, if you're going to park on the street, acknowledge the signs. Safer neighborhood, you should feel okay about leaving your car there. And
It's a business. It's all business complexes up there.
Okay.
So nobody's like walking around. But as usual, just don't leave valuables in your car in sight, because there might be people trying to take advantage of the concert that could show up.
Okay, and then let's talk about the venue inside. As far as the viewing, I think we got section 101, and I don't have a map in front of me, but I will overlay it in the video. The lawn, I think the only tickets available is a lawn. So starting from the stage up, explain the seating, because we have 101, so we have assigned seats, and then there's a section behind there, I think, seats, and then the rail, and then the grass area. If you could explain that to the
Yep. So it looks like what's going to happen is the seats closest to the stage are the 100s. There's the middle section, the right and the left, and those are all just row by row. And then it looks like there's a 200 section, which is the second section of rows of seats. And it seems like the second section of seats is going to be GA open. So if you bought a ticket for the 200s, or the upper GA, as it were, you basically get seats first come, first serve.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's some ADA within that area, I believe, as well. And then everything else is lawn. Everything else is GA lawn. And the lawn at Shoreline is humongous. From the front of the lawn, you can still see the stage pretty well. From the back of the lawn, you cannot see the stage. It's like being in the back of the Oakland Coliseum watching an A's game, when you're in the back of the
you had to go to the A's in Oakland. You had to bring them up. They're playing right down the street from me, and I refuse to go see it. But anyways,
that's fair.
So it's I don't recall like the one time I went, but so you want to get there early, and the proverbial, hey, I want to dance with my friends type thing. Let me back up a little bit. People were saying, oh, I hate seated. You've got your seats in the section 100, and I can't dance with my friends. Well, meet someone new. Expand your family a little bit.
Of course.
You're going to hug everybody, and we're going to meet new people because of who we're next to. Because people saying, oh, I'm in 102 or I'm in 101. So the 200 section, that was confusing to me. People have bought those. Those aren't assigned. So you could sit down. You don't have assigned seating.
Correct. Yeah. If you leave, like if your group leaves, somebody else could probably come in and take those seats. So if you have 200s and you're with a group, I would say make sure at least one person sticks around if everybody else goes to the bathroom, so they can say, oh, hey, my friends are here.
Okay. And then I saw someone say on Reddit a pretty good tip. If you get there earlier and you've got lawn tickets, is to set your little camp next to one of the poles. It's a great landmark for when it gets dark and it's hard to see and navigate, and the lawn gets filled, but that your crew is right next to that pole. I thought, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, but don't get stuck behind the pole, because then you won't see anything. If you have a ticket for 100, you can access the whole venue. If you have a ticket for the 200s, they probably will not let you go to the 100s, but you can access the lawn and the 200s. And then, of course, the lawn, you can only access the lawn. And then when it comes to lawn, A lot of people usually claim their spot with a big blanket, as they usually do in these kinds of shows. So feel free to do that. You can also rent lawn chairs. You cannot bring your own lawn chair. They will not let you do that because you gotta rent one from them if you want it.
Yeah, and I read if you go in the entrance, you go off to the left and you can get your chair. I think it was $15, right?
I don't know. I've never rented a chair, but that sounds about right.
So can you sit on the lawn? Is it too?
Yeah, you can sit. You can absolutely sit. It's not super steep. There's a couple of places where it's maybe a little bit more steep than the rest of the hill, but it's a gradual kind of incline up to the top. And then if you do go all the way up to the top, it kind of flattens out at the really back. So it's a lot of people kind of end up on the top, like the top, because it is a little bit more flat. But it is such a great vibe to be on the lawn and just kind of run around and dance and see whoever. It's a nice vibe.
If you're up top and, like you said, you get blocked by the girders or whatever, and you can't really see it. I mean, an EDM show like that, you're gonna still get all the effects of the lasers and stuff. And I guess there will be screens that you might be able to see.
There's a couple of screens on the field as well for people who are back there. So I'm sure they're gonna be showing like whatever's on the screen visualizer, and then maybe they'll mix in some live camera shots for that as well.
Concessions, they're quite abundant, and I guess if we're sitting in section 101, you've got to go up to the restrooms. I'm taking, and the concessions is everything's going to be on top of the hill. I'm taking, right?
No, everything's off to the sides. There's some in the back, but there's not really a lot in the back. So most of what you want to look for are on the sides, and you access them on the sides of the lawn. There's an exit on the sides of 200s. There's an exit on the sides of 100s. So you just kind of go off to the sides, and all the concessions and bathrooms are there. There's a lot of concession options. There's a lot of alcohol options. You can buy wine by the bottle. That's something kind of cool that I've always liked about that venue. When I used to drink wine, I would do that with my partner. My partner Michelle and I would share a bottle. Yeah, so you can do that. So there's a lot, and when I was there for Dave Matthews Band, the prices weren't that bad comparatively to like a lot of venues. But alcohol, of course, is going to be bad no matter what. So expect high prices for alcohol.
It's requested, either you have to, or it's requested to bring in clear bags. I don't know what their policy is. And also, I think I read that you can bring in your own food as long as it's in Ziploc bags. So what you can and cannot bring in.
I think it's a standard clear bag policy where, like the ones you see mostly, where any like if you have a small like hand purse or like a very, very small bag, you can bring it in that's not clear, to hold your credit card and phone, stuff like that. But any kind of normal bag has to be clear. You can bring I think it's one sealed bottle of water they'll let you bring in. I don't think they'll let you bring in hard water bottles because, again, you got to think projectiles. That's what they're always talking about. Like, can you use it and throw it and hit someone and cause damage? So they won't let you bring in like hard water bottles, even if they're empty.
So other things on the Shoreline Amphitheater FAQ page, what items am I not allowed to bring in? What we're concerned about, really, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You can check it out, but no signs larger than 8.5 by 11. Size may be subject to change. Really subject to change, but then if you go down to, can I bring in a sign? No. You can bring in a standard sheet of paper. It makes sense for those seating, but you know how we like our totems. Also important, do you accept cash? Shoreline Amphitheater is a cash-free venue. If you arrive without a debit or credit card, head to the guest service booth and they'll exchange for cash for card for free.
But then food you can bring in. They'll let you, again, clear Ziploc. I think you get maximum 1 gallon sized Ziploc that you can bring. And again, it has to be clear so they can see the food that's in it. Bring some food, bring some sandwiches, whatever.
Yeah. Any final thoughts you want to share with the fam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a really special and fantastic experience. Shoreline is a beautiful, beautiful place with a lot of history. And I'm really excited because my partner, Michelle, and I, both of us are bringing our parents to this show. So my mom and dad and Michelle's mom and dad, this is going to be their first Above and Beyond show. So I'm really excited about that. Come and say hi. and say hi to, new people. As always in Anjuna show, the line is you're surrounded by your future best friends, and it's absolutely true. You're going to meet some really, really great people.
That's awesome. Do you think you'll be able to go to the meetup with your folks and in-laws so we can all meet them?
Maybe. I'll see what we can swing. Figure it out. We'll see what happens.
Speaking of meetups, so it was just confirmed that there will be a meetup at the Sports Page Bar and Grill. It will be from 3 to 5. The show is from 7 to 11 with Gabriel in Dresden and Hannah, which I have failed to mention until now, so that'll be exciting. And apparently the Shoreline opens anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes before the show starts. It's a 17-minute walk to the Shoreline. Be a good time to grab a bite to eat and, of course, mingle. Meetups are always a ton of fun.
Because it's bigger than you.
All right, Eric, wave goodbye to the fam. I appreciate it, and I'll be
Yes,
right
sir.
with you here.